Okay, so we recently shot a video about the new Thor being a woman. Some people ask me what's my thought about the new Captain America. Sam Wilson, Falcon, is going to become Captain America because the super soldier serum no longer works in Steve Rogers, and he's now like pretty much the age he should be, which seems weird because he was frozen in ice for a lot of that time. With that suspended animation and the super soldier serum kind of helped retard his aging process. But those are what my thoughts were on that. I'll be honest. Having a guy who was a sidekick, use term sidekick loosely in this sense, take over the mantle of the main character and the main character can no longer hold said mantle, I'm totally fine with that. It's happened before with Captain America. U.S. agent for a while was Captain America. Hawkeye had been Captain America for a while. Bucky, when he came back, after he got back to being the Winter Soldier, he was Captain America for a while. So people have been the sidekicks and the friends of Captain America. They've stepped up and they've taken the role. That's entirely fine. When I first read a black Captain America, I was like, oh, so you mean like The Truth? Which was a miniseries that should have been fantastic. Using almost kind of like a Tuskegee Airmen sort of feel to it, you know, trying out the super soldier serum on essentially a lower grade human, which was what they used to do way back in the day, where you try out an experiment on somebody before you try it on a white person. So the true era of just vicious, violent, in your face sort of racism. I mean, think about that, which was actually, it was a better idea for a story than it was executed or drawn in this case. So when they show the new Avengers, and it's the exact same cast for the most part. They did throw in some of the Inhumans. You see Medusa and people like that. But you will see Falcon Captain America and female Thor. Okay. People then threw out that they're going to also tweak Tony Stark. Tony Stark will now be in San Francisco and he'll be in a silver suit. And he'll be called Superior Iron Man, so I guess maybe he will take on a villain who will take over his body and then die, a la Superior Spider-Man. But then he'll be a slightly darker character, more of an anti-hero. So you're going to take the guy who is a rich white industrialist, who had a tremendous amount of character adjustment when it came to Civil War, showing that he was heavily backed in the government in that Superhuman Registration Act. Then you're going to put him in San Francisco and have him be a much more harder line character. Some people mentioned what they should if they want to change Tony. I always thought the Tony Stark idea would be fantastic for more of an Asian character. Because I think that you have a guy who builds robotic suits. That's pretty close to what, like a third of the anime that come out. You seem to have like medieval, then something related to schoolgirls, and then there's almost, you know, you've got your Big O, you've got your Gundam, you've got something where it's a human and giant robot. This is the same thing, just smaller robot suit that they're wearing. And there's a whole host of things you can pull from that would be amazing. Even if someone took over Tony Stark's role for a short time, like when young Tony Stark did, or when the clones of Tony Stark took over the role. Yeah, that'd be pretty interesting. So they have options they can do to kind of tweak or do, as they've done in the past, like the Heroes Reborn time, do kind of like fill-in characters for the time being. See if they sell, and if they don't, you go back to your standard. See if I know sooner or later when Peter Parker retires, and then it's Miles Morales takes over his spot. Okay. As long as you have him be a sidekick first and then take over, it will make sense and people will get used to the character. If they enjoy the character, seeing the main character move on to a different phase in his life makes that nice transition point. When you do the hard break and you kill somebody or do a very drastic change for the sake of bumping sales, that's when you get a tremendous amount of fan backlash. If you do something that makes sense from a sequential standpoint, then it's okay. Batman had his back broken, so somebody who was kind of his sidekick took over the role for a little while, but you knew Bruce was going to come back. Bruce gets shunted around in time, which therefore makes Nightwing become the new Batman. And that made sense because he was Robin, You broke out on his own, became Nightwing, Batman becomes injured, Nightwing becomes Batman. Makes sense. It's that nice, logical progression that you should see. That's why you have younger superheroes. That's why you always had Justice Society, Justice League, Teen Titans. You had your older guard, your current guard, and your future guard. It made sense. It was a nice progressional way of doing things. You know, when they do those sorts of changes, it makes sense. And it's hard for a comic fan to really, truly be that upset unless it's handled poorly. I'm talking like Clone Saga Spider-Man point, like first one. Like Scarlet Spider introduction. Clone Saga. If it's done well, it makes sense. It's a logical transition. If it's done poorly, that is like your Emerald Twilight, where you make a guy go crazy, introduce a new character. As opposed to, this character's been introduced, we're going to slowly build our way to that character taking on the main mantle. That would be your Barry Allen, Wally West transition for Flash. Introduce the character, have the character get their own fan base, show the transition from new character, who's getting some nice establishment to him, going into the established role, knowing that if things go poorly, you do the transition back, bring your other character back, and it's fine. It's when you do the drastic change of, oh, well, now Superman is now electromagnetically based, and he's blue electricity. Oh, now he's blue and red electricity. Then people kind of go, that makes no sense at all. But if you do the nice, logical transition, and you show that there's somebody who is going to fill in the shoes, you make people care about that person, you give that person good story and a nice actual background, instead of like a generic background, and then he pulls in that position a couple years later, it makes sense. It's like, well, Falcon taking over Captain America's role makes perfect sense. They've been together for decades. It's the same way like when when James Rhodes took over Tony Stark's role as Iron Man for a while. It made sense. Iron Man had some problems. James was used to the suits. Just took a suit that was Iron Man, tweaked it a little so it fit himself. There you go. He became Iron Man for a while until Tony got his stuff together. It made sense. It's a good transition. It was logical. So with this one, it's a logical transition. You know, those two have been together for a very long time. You know, we're going to write Captain America out. If they need to bring him back, it's very, very simple. They just get a new batch of super soldier serum, give it to him. Or, since Wolverine lost his healing factor, they can do some sort of weird, like, blood transfusion, or Scarlet Witch does magic, or Doctor Strange does magic, or Iron Fist uses the dragon power, and then they have Hope use the Phoenix power to bring them back to full health. There can be a time shunt, like when they brought Captain Marvel, male Captain Marvel, back from the dead, even though in the timeline he's still dead. It's like Doctor Who sort of thing. There's a whole host of ways you can bring these characters back if it is financially unsuccessful.